Hey, welcome to my first video of 2015. This is Thrift Store Vinyl Finds, I think 29. I'm calling it the Staycation Throwback Edition of Thrift Store Vinyl Finds. Where I work, it's like you have to put in your vacation requests, and it's always hard to get days that you want. Maybe when the weather finally gets nice. What I do this opposite. I pick days that no one else, I think, wants. In fact, I hoped that the days I picked, we would have had like a blizzard or a snowstorm, so I wouldn't have to worry about getting to my job. But that didn't happen on these first 2 days. It was like a 4-day weekend. But that's okay, because I'm so happy that this winter so far, and I'd say we're like more than halfway through, is this winter has not been at all like last winter up here in the north central U.S., and I'm sure here and in the east, the northeast of the USA too, and in Canada. That brutal winter we had last year with the day after day of the in the teens sub-zero Fahrenheit temperatures. It wore on all of us, and then the snow, that never melted. It just that turned into that kind of that pasty slush that was so slippery that never. It was so hard to drive through, especially for a lead sled car like mine. But anyway, with the weather report out of the way here, I thought I'd show you a few things I got. Not many. I mean, they're not spectacular finds, but I have found a couple things that I've never ever come across before at the Goodwill that's close to me, and these are all dollar a piece finds here. So, but I'm also calling it the Throwback Edition because that's what I'm drinking here. I'm drinking this Lion Kugels here, which is kind of a popular basic beer up here in southeastern Wisconsin, and this is like the throwback can. And I even found I kind of, another cheap hobby. I go to thrift stores and I look for like any kind of logo glassware, and I found like there's this Germania Pilsner mug here. It's a nice size. It's a perfect size for a can. A 12-ounce can of beer fills it up there. So that's what I'm drinking today. But after I show this finds, I'll briefly give you a little show and tell of a radio I found. Well, actually, I've been looking for this radio for quite a while, because it was identical to a radio that I grew up in my mid to late 1960s, or actually from the mid 1960s to the early 1970s. This was like for a while, this was the only radio we had in our apartment, in our home. I grew up in an apartment. Later on, we moved in like a townhouse and then a condominium. But anyway, this radio was kind of like my lifeline to the great back when radio was really worth listening to. When it had the top 40 formats on the AM. AM radio was like king of the airwaves, and the stations that really had the followings were the ones that played the top 40 pop rock and all other variety of music that people were buying back then. And I came through this radio, and it kind of has like an emotional attachment to me, because I've kind of mentioned it, not to get a little personal, but my childhood was very dysfunctional and lonely, and for a time this radio was kind of like my best friend for quite a while. So at the end of these finds, I'll show you the radio and tell you a little about it. It needs a little bit of work. It was sort of working when I first got it, but it needs some kind of the connections from the battery compartment to the radio. There was some corrosion in things, and the batteries were actually kind of heating up and so I know there's a lot of like resistance back feeding into the batteries or something. So I have to do some basic fixing of it. But anyway, let's get into the finds here. I've found these all at the closest Goodwill, which is like just like a mile down the road from me, and I've actually sampled and played all these records too, and they all sound pretty darn good. Some have some superficial scratches on it, but I think most of these are mono, and mono records seem to have really deep grooves, deeper grooves, I think, than stereo. You experts, maybe you can correct me, I don't know, but anyway, they all sound pretty darn nice, pretty good for $1 a piece. So first one is actually a replacement copy of another record that I found recently. So I'm going to take the other one back, but this is a Vanilla Fudge near the beginning. Although I haven't played this one. This one, I should correct myself. I haven't played this one yet. But the jacket and the disc were in better condition than the other one I recently found. So, actually, here's another one I haven't played yet. I mean, the Ventures, they put out a ton of records because they were basically covering just about anything that was coming out at the time. But and I have a lot of Ventures records already, but I didn't have this one. This is the Horse by the Ventures there. So it's, and you see they're kind of like dressing for the times. It probably came out in like 68 or 67 there with the Nehru jackets, I think they called that or something. So that's the Horse there. This one I kind of played a few little bit. I haven't really played the whole thing through, but this I love the Allman Brothers, and I used to have a few Allman Brothers albums that I regretfully got rid of many years ago, and then like years later you think, you know, what was I thinking? I should have held on to them. But this one I never had though, and this is a double live album. The Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore East, so this is a very cool find, I think, and I really look forward to this. In fact, I'll probably play this one. I'll put it on my turntable after I finish shooting this video. I don't know, but it's got the older Capricorn label, and I think this was distributed by somebody else. And of course, I had to put my reading glasses on to see. Atlantic, okay, distributed by Atlantic. And of course, the script of the like stereo and side 1 and 2, that's the same as like on the older Atlantic records there. So very cool find, I think. The Allman Brothers there. Here's another one. This guy, I don't know, he was probably like a pop guy, early 60s. Major Lance. Major's Greatest Hits, and he had a couple hits here. And this is, I played this through. It sounds great. It's kind of like that early 60s, kind of like a Motown dance pop soul kind of sound there. And it may be pretty good for, like, you know, exercising or stuff, because there's another thing I mentioned too, and you know how you make reservations maybe to get into better shape or whatever. Well, not only, you know, I mean, I have my bikes up there, but I mean, you can't see it on camera, but behind that TV there, I have a treadmill that I found at the same Goodwill for like $7. It's not a motorized, it's a manual treadmill with the Corey Everson's. It's a Corey Everson treadmill. It was one of those fitness women there, so it's very cool find. I also I've been thinking about this a long time. I actually went to Kmart, which is in the same plaza as the Goodwill, and I bought one of these. Oh, what do you call that now? Of course, now one of those kind of oh, I can't think of the name. Well, maybe I'll think of it later. It's one of those Total Gym. And it was on sale for like $180. So it's regularly $200. It's the Achiever model. I mean, the total gem you can spend like $1,000, $1,500 for the top of the line ones. But anyway, I was thinking about that, and I'm probably gonna make a video about getting into the mindset about exercise on my other channel, though, called What's Up With That. So there's a little plug for my other channel there about getting into the kind of building up the mental muscle to start working out and working out your other physical muscles there. So with that interlude over, let's continue with the vinyl finds here. I've never had this one. This is Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies. I kind of move my Neil around to see what condition it's in. It's in pretty good condition. So very cool find, I gotta say, for a buck. I mean, I don't think I've ever come across this through my thrift store shopping, and it's on I think that's like the late '60s Capitol, early '70s Capitol green label there. Very, very cool find. I didn't know what this was. This is a James Brown record, and I thought, ooh, how exciting, right? But it's kind of weird. It's not him singing at all. It's like the band, and then he's like playing the organ, and he's like playing kind of like the lead, I guess, of what he would be like singing. Instead of singing, he's playing like the lines or whatever on the organs. I don't know. I don't know if I'll hold on to it. Maybe I'll hold on to it because I really don't have anything else by James Brown. But that was kind of interesting to find though. This one has a little bit of wear on it, but it's in pretty good shape. It's an original Supremes album. It's not like a greatest hits or something, but it's Sing Holland Dozier Holland, and it's got like some of the well-known hits by them too on here. But this is actually a pretty cool find, I think, too. It's on the original Motown label there. This one I wasn't gonna take, but I thought, well, it's kind of like an original. I mean, I'm not really into Gary Lewis in the Playboys, but this was kind of an original, I think, at the time, released by them. And it was a lot of covers. He does a lot of covers of stuff that was contemporary coming out at the time there. And I kind of put Neil down throughout the records there. I'll probably hold on to it. I have some other stuff by Gary Lewis, so. But it's in pretty good shape. A lot of these too, I took out my my little Scotch transparent tape, and I had to do a little surgery on a lot of these jackets. A lot of them had splits along the tops and bottoms there, but they're in actually, I think, in pretty good shape considering they're all original records there. So this is actually kind of a rare find too. I've never come across this. I remember this single when it came out in like 1971. It was an instrumental song called Scorpio, and it was by Dennis Coffey. This is the album. Dennis Coffey and the Detroit guitar band Evolution. And he looks a little surprised or happy there. But it's got Scorpio, and everything on here is instrumental. There's no real vocals or nothing. But it's a pretty cool record. I like it. And I've never come across something like this until now. So it's Dennis Coffey there. This is kind of a, well, I'm gonna hold on to this, but I'm not really. I kind of knew this record. I guess couple of these songs were minor hits for this group, mid '60s, kind of a folk rock kind of group. It was the Critters, Younger Girl, and this is on Cap. So I mean, Cap was not really a rock label. I mean, they had the Searchers. I mean, but the Critters, I think they're like, I don't know. It's kind of like this. I think was their only album, but they're kind of like the Association and maybe sort of like the Byrds, but they didn't have near the creativity of say the Byrds or the Association. A lot of the stuff sounds really kind of dated. I don't know. It was kind of like kind of like folk rock if Lawrence Welk composed the music or something. That's kind of like what this stuff sounds like. I mean, I'll hold on. I'm gonna hold on to it, but it's. I mean, I've never come across this until now. So, um, the only record I think I recall hearing, and this maybe in the '80s on an oldie station, was one called this Mr. Dyingly Sad. I mean, yeah, that's a really upbeat sounding title, isn't it? But anyway, that's the critters for you. Um, this one, I think I already have this record, and the cover is different. But this is a great um, album, Best of Wilson Pickett here. And I think I have another one that's a Wilson Pickett album where he's like jumping up and he's wearing a pink suit, and that's also on Atlanta. And I think it has most of the same tracks as this, and this is pretty great sounding record. It says stereo, but I think most of these tracks, it says electronically reprocessed. I don't know if you can see that, but it sounds really good. I mean, it sounds more like mono. Maybe there's a few couple tracks that are reprocessed, but it's a great sounding record there. So that's Wilson Pickett. This was a cool find when I came across this. When I was combing through the records, I thought, oh my God, you know, this what a great find. Um, and then I looked it up when I got home. I looked this up in my collectible records catalog, and there were like 3 versions of this record. This one version could have been worth $100 if it was in near mint condition. Excuse me. This is not that record, but it's kind of like the mid-level one. I had to do a little surgery, like I said, with tape on the jacket here. But anyway, this is Dick Dale and his Deltone Surfer's Choice, and it's on Deltone, but it's actually distributed by Capitol. But it has the Deltone label. And if you know Dick Dale, he was like he's still the king of the surf guitar. Most people consider, but got some of his more famous tracks on here. Peppermint Man, Let's Go Trippin' was considered the very first real surf song, I guess, at least by him. What else does it have on here? Surf Beat, Miserlou Twist, Sloop John B, and some other tracks there. But most of these tracks have like piano and some other um, arrangements like that. I mean, most of them are not just him, you know, shredding on his electric guitar there. But this is, I gotta say, this is a very cool find, though. I mean, yeah, it's got some issues, but still, it's that kind of cool, you know, early '60s kind of um, artwork there, and that is actually him. That is him surfing. He was an avid surfer there, so maybe he still is. I don't know. But anyway, those are the finds, and like I said, I wanted to show you. I'm briefly going to show you this. This is a radio that I was kind of stalking eBay for months, hoping that this radio would come up. In fact, I didn't remember what model it was, and I had to do some research. But anyway, this is a radio that I think I remember my dad taking me to like the Allied radio store. Allied Radio was like a chain that kind of like precursor to Radio Shack, and they sold electronics, but this is in the early, you know, in the late '50s and early '60s when electronics was more. It wasn't like mainstream, you know, TVs and stuff. This was more like for the like amateur radio people, and you know, people were into ham radio and stuff like that. And stereo was kind of like a new thing back then, so it was more for the hobbyist. electronic person or whatever. But anyway, one of my, I think, very early memory was like, it had to have been in like 1964, because that's when this radio came out. That we bought this radio, I guess. And then it was, like I said, I didn't grow up with much materially, so it's like this radio was like a big part of my connection to the what was going on in music and stuff. And same thing with a TV. We had like a Zenith big TV, but that kind of like crapped out. And most of my, at the same time we had this radio, we just had a little Sears Roebuck kind of little portable TV. And you know, from the time I was maybe 5 years old to like, you know, 8 or 9, 10 years old, those were like the two main electronics in our apartment. But anyway, this is the radio. It's a Real Tone model TR3449. You get an idea of the size here. It's substantial. It's not that big, but it was actually a really high quality radio. And Real Tone, later they became a company called Sound Design, and I don't know if Sound Design still exists, but it's obviously not nearly as big as like a, you know, a Sony or a General Electric or whatever. But this was actually a very high quality radio. It still is. In fact, I'm hoping that the FM works. I couldn't really get the FM much to work, but anyway, the nice thing about these older radios is that they were great for the AM, because the AM broadcast band was basically the mainstream of radio back then. And this has a massive ferrite bar antenna that goes like the whole width of this radio, and it's really big. It's a big round antenna, and you don't see that in many new radios at all. Maybe the GE or the RCA super radio, they call it, has kind of a substantial AM antenna. But this thing, like I said, this thing came out in like 1964, and it's why I wanted this so bad is because, like I said, being that I'm like probably one of the older members of the vinyl community, I can still remember back when, you know, a lot of these, you know, iconic songs, I can remember when they came out, like probably like the mid 60s, summer of like 1965. I remember when a lot of, you know, when I first heard like the Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man, I heard it on this radio when I was a kid. First time I ever heard Led Zeppelin was I heard a Whole Lot of Love, and I heard it. In fact, I remember it was like in the summer of like 1968, and I heard it on this exact model radio there. So that's a little show and tell there for the radio. I got to do some more work on it. But when I got it too, it was not in cosmetically. It was horrible. It needed a real thorough cleaning, and I did that. Luckily, the antenna is in great condition, and it's switched. It also has short wave, and I remember as a kid, I discovered short wave. I would try to like carefully tune like a safe cracker, trying to get something. And when I would get like an English speaking program on like the BBC or something, they always seem to be on the verge of signing off, and it kind of aggravated me a lot. So, but anyway, without further ado, if you made some New Year's resolutions, I hope you can stick to them. I have too. I'm trying to get a little more into the, you know, be a little more active, do more walking. Like I said, I used to be an avid bicycle commuter, and you know, I'm still kind of if I look for a job, it's like I want something that's kind of like close by, where I could go get back into bike commuting or whatever. But once upon a time, I used to ride in like all kinds of weather, down to like, you know, the low 20s and snow and all that. And you know, I'm not as enthusiastic about that as I used to be, but I still, you know, I want to do that, and at my age, you know, it's the old use it or lose it kind of mentality there. So however you're doing, I hope you're doing well. And as always, I always say keep it groovy, people. And with that, hope to see you tune in here again to same time, same channel, or whatever time you want. And with that, I'll say goodbye for now. Bye.